Hey guys, it's Don, and I'm back again with my hobby vlog number 5. So my focus this time was on completing one of the pieces I was getting close to having finished, just to make room on my table for more terrain projects, but I was able to work on some of the other stuff a little bit, and let's take a look at where I am with my Osgiliath Ruins piece. So here it is. You can see the big change is that I've tiled the interior of the whole piece. And it went quite a bit easier than I was expecting. I pre-painted all the tiles, and really the only difficult part was in around here and under here, where I had to trim all of the tiles individually to get them to fit properly. But you can see right here I've decided to use the smaller ones to make my job a little easier there. And I decided to tile the entire thing just because you can see the tiles are quite thick, so they don't really look right, just like they are here. So I wanted to tile the entire thing so there was very little edge that you could see. And what I'm going to do over here is, like, this entire surface is going to be covered with a gravel, this gravel right here that I showed, and it's a fine gravel. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to build it up a little bit around these pieces and in between them, almost kind of like grouting them almost to sort of reduce the depth of some areas like that as well. Hopefully that'll work. You can see over here I have what's left of my tiles that I had pre-painted, and I don't know, the lighting is not the best here, but you can sort of see those are my 4 stages of this is not focusing, but those are the 4 stages of the dry brushing that I did. And I also added a whole bunch of this coarser gravel and just spotted it around different areas over the piece. Again, to give a couple of different textures to it. And this here I've added, you see more rubble has been added here. And I did it a little bit differently this time. Last time I put it on here and then spray painted it on the piece, but of course you don't really want to have to get your spray can out when you're painting so close to stuff that's already been painted. And of course the polystyrene doesn't like the spray paint either. It tends to melt it. Now this stuff's been painted with a latex paint, so it prevents quite a bit of that, but it still does melt a little bit of it. That anything that was melted will be covered over anyways with gravel. But what I decided to do here was I took a whole bunch of these pieces of sprue and I just put them aside and sprayed them all black, and then once they were dry I added them to the piece with PVA and then added the gravel in between, and that stuff of course hasn't been painted. And I did that in several spots, just kind of having rubble tumbling down, and there's more around the back as well. And didn't do anything to the stairway out front here. Still needs to be primed. I did decide to put aside my Goblin Town stuff for now. I'm not going to work on that right away, and I will bring that out again eventually. This was my display base, which I did manage to get my table saw out and was able to cut that off, and yeah, that made a huge mess, but I was able to get that done. The main thing that I was working on over the last few weeks was this piece here, which is now finished, and I just wanted to get something complete and get it off my board. So last time I was just starting to paint the dirt here, so I was able to complete that, and I'm using these paints. I'm trying these out. I never used these before, but using these Tallery paints and finding them quite good. So the initial coat, I watered it down by about 25%, I'd say, just so that the paint will settle into the crevices of the gravel. So I did that over the entire piece, and then after that I used this baby, which is everybody's best friend, Agrax Earthshade, and covered every bit of dirt that I had on here with that, which didn't take up very much of the ink actually. And then after that I dry brushed this with the same brown but with no water mixed in. And then once that was dry, I just dry brushed it with a lighter shade. I've added in 2 different tones of flock here, and you can see some foliage here as well. And all this stuff I've gone over it all with a 50-50 PVA water mix, and I just keep a little bottle that I have here. I don't spray this stuff on actually. I paint it on with a large brush. And of course this piece, again, using the old 40k plastic Gothic ruins. One of my favorite pieces of terrain that Games Workshop's ever come out with, just in terms of its versatility. You can use that for, you know, pretty much any of their game systems, plus many other game systems as well. It's a really versatile piece of terrain that I wish they would bring that one back. Then I've got 4 tiles, or 4 pillars in there rather. One of them is broken in half, laying on the ground. And these again I just picked up at a craft store. And this is actually a 5-inch version of it, and it's a hollow. And these are actually made for wedding cakes, but they do great for terrain building as well. So you can see I've got 4 of them in there. The cobblestones at the bottom, this is like a molded plastic sheet that you can buy at a lot of hobby stores. Would sell this stuff, and it looks like this. It's like a flexible plastic card, and they come in a lot of different designs, this obviously being like a cobblestone, and this is some of the last little bits of it that I have left. I think it comes in like maybe about a 1 foot by 2 foot sheet or something like that. And you can see here I've got a bunch of my Minas Tirith guys. There's Faramir leading some of his Osgiliath veterans. So this is a really good piece for Lord of the Rings. And last of all, I've got an old statue there, which is supposed to be like copper that's aging. It's got some leaves and stuff settled in them. Probably could do with a little bit more work in this area. Actually, I see right now that I still have to paint some of this gravel in here, so it's not quite 100% done. And just the overall size of this piece is 10.5 inches by 16.5 inches, I think. And it was I made it that way specifically so that it would fit in a photocopy paper box. So it fit right into a box like that. So next I'm going to put this away now, and I'm going to bring onto the table the next piece of terrain that I'm going to be working on, which is going to be quite a bit of work, but I'll be right back with that. Okay, so this is the next thing I'm going to be working on. It's pretty bare bones right now. Not a lot to it. And this is a piece that I made probably about 4 or 5 years ago. And it was never actually intended to be used as a terrain piece for wargaming. It was more of, I made it for a Dungeons and Dragons adventure that I was running, which was a published one. And part of the adventure took place in a small castle. And so I decided to just make it a scale model of it so that it would be more fun for everybody to enjoy that. And it's not really made out of the materials that I would normally use for wargaming, because it was never really intended to be anything other than a scale model. But you can see it's all made out of just corrugated cardboard and foam core, and that's really about it. And this is just regular cardstock, really thin stuff. But what I've got going on is, anybody that's in our group and knows what events we're running, I've actually decided to run a non-competitive event this year, later in the year in September. And I'm going to be putting together sort of a scenario, a campaign of linked games for that event. And I want this to be the centerpiece of that campaign. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to put some work into this piece and make it at least acceptable for wargaming. You know, I'm not going to try to make this a fantastic piece, but I want to put a little bit of work into it to make it look decent. I mean, all the walls need a treatment. The interior I have to do something with. I'll probably put one or two small buildings in the interior, and I'm not sure if I'll make those myself or buy something to put in there. And I need to put a gate on it. I need to put a gate here, and of course that tower needs sprucing up as well. So that's what I've got in the works for the near future. And I will start working on that one here and there while I try to finish off this guy. And hopefully we can get this one done within the next couple of weeks. This one's approaching the point, I think, where I can get it finished fairly easily. I just need to do the gravel and finish off this. So it's mostly light work. I think a lot of the most difficult stuff on this one is done now. But that's it for now. And once again, anybody in Ontario, Canada that has a Lord of the Rings army packed away in your basement, get that out and come and join our events in Ontario here. I'm going to link our Facebook page in the description below, and you'll be able to find the Ontario Strategy Battle Game League. Okay guys, see you later.